Everyone, I am Paul Goldstein, and welcome to the May meeting of the Waterfront Parks and Cultural Committee of Community Board One. As you can see, I'm here on a remote basis. I'm going to turn the meeting over in just a moment to my very able co-chair, Andrew Zelter. And other than Andrew, I just want to also thank and acknowledge Onette James for all the good work she does for our committee. And we have two items on the agenda today, but I will let Andrew do all the intros. Andrew, thank you for doing it, and good evening.
Thanks, Paul. Good evening, everyone, and advanced happy Memorial Day wish for everyone for the long weekend coming up. So we should be pretty efficient tonight. We have two topics on the agenda. Both are updates and or presentations. The first has to do with a preview of programming on Governor's Island, and we have Amani Isaac from the Trust. So why don't we turn it over and have you present?
You want to pass this down? Thank you.
Hey everyone, for anyone who doesn't know me, but I think I've already been here enough. I'm Imani Isaac. I'm the Senior Manager of Community Outreach and Partnerships for the Trust for Governor's Island. I lead our community engagement and support our intergovernmental affairs. And I'm just here to give some updates on our peak. So the agenda will just run through Island hours as we approach Memorial Day, the Governor's Island Arts Preview, activities and programming that folks can expect for our peak season, upcoming events, and then any development updates as it relates to capital projects.
I don't think it's advanced report.
It's not, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, click there.
There you go.
Okay, great. So for peak season hours, and this is running from Memorial Day to Labor Day, the island has extended hours again this year, meaning that most of the island will stay open from Sunday to Thursday until 10 p.m. and then from Friday and Saturday until 11 p.m. The Southern Island, before we would say would close at 6 p.m. just to make it easy for our visitors and messaging, we're going to close the Southern Island, which would include Hammock Grove, the hills, and the slides at dusk. And then what that means for ferry access is we're really excited to mention that in addition to our daily service from Manhattan, this year we will also be bringing back Brooklyn Ferry service with our TGI operated Brooklyn ferries at Pier 6 and Red Hook Atlantic Basin. Ferry tickets are $5 round trip. But as always, we have a bunch of free subcategories, including children 12 and under, adults 65 and older, IDNYC holders, active and former military service members, and then community groups. And then one thing that I wanted to note for this group is that we have introduced new ferry codes for partners, summer camps, and schools as a subgroup. And so previously there was this community partner code that individuals could use for free ferry tickets. So that we could really see our growth over the years in those subcategories, we've made codes specific for those groups. So if people reach out and ask for free access to Governor's Island, you can direct them to group visits at govisland.org, and I'll share flyers and they can receive the codes that way. Cool. So this year, our public art piece is Rest Play. This will be on exhibit from mid-May until October. And this is an island-wide sculpture exhibit. The island as we know it is really a space for our visitors either to rest or to play, immerse themselves in nature, enjoy our recreational activities. And so our head curator, Lauren Haynes, this year thought it would be great if our public art played on really what our visitors are coming to Governor's Island for. And so these next slides are just gonna click through and show what that looks like. This is a seat. You can go, you can sit in. We just had a group today, about 5 people fit into this thought bubble and took a really great photo. These are some benches, and a few of them are located in Nolan Park and other areas of the island. These are kites really leaning in on that play portion of Rest Play. There are 99 kites scattered throughout Governor's Island currently. And then this is a sculpture that's located in the southern island right across from where Bird is, for those who are familiar with our public art pieces. In addition to Rest Play, we also are bringing back Interventions, which is our public performing arts series. We really call artists locally, nationally, and internationally to put on performances for our public throughout the year. We had one last weekend for our season opening, and you all can look forward to Firebird, which will be slated for performance in early October. This piece is inspired by Stravinsky's 1919 Firebird Suite. Something else that I wanted to call attention to, and this is really building upon visitor feedback, but also some feedback that we got directly from the community board, wanting to enhance our signage as it relates to public art on Governor's Island. And so if you all visit the island this season, you'll see new signage that's accessible and multilingual. We have banners on the historical houses in Nolan Park and Colonel's Row so that our visitors know what organization is inside. We won a grant as part of Bloomberg's Digital Accelerator Program, $200,000 to improve our digital assets. We have new art tours led by our visitor services. And then we also have self-guided tours for public art through the Bloomberg Connect app. And then this is just a reminder, in addition to the new and exciting things this season, the ongoing public art commissions that you can find across the island. We are also excited to announce the 2025 Organizations in Residence. As you all know, this is our free public programming on Saturdays and Sundays in the historical houses of Nolan Park and Colonel's Row. This will be every weekend starting last weekend until the fall. We have about 100 artists served through this program. There are 3 new organizations this year, with about 50% of them being minority-led. And we would love for you all to join us on third Saturdays for our special free public programming, which really just highlights the work of the orgs, but also has some fun activities with other island partners. So activities as it relates to open space and recreation, still bringing back the loved athletic fields free of charge for youth groups, nonprofits, and public schools. The South Island Park, one thing I wanted to note is that Slide Hill is temporarily closed for maintenance. That's on our website, and we're continuing to push that messaging forward. I think that's something that a lot of families come to the island for. Blazing Saddles is continuing to offer their free hour biking on weekdays between 10 a.m. and noon. And this is in addition to our various city bike docks across the island, as well as you being able to bring your own bikes over. And then you can always reserve grills on Governor's Island through our permitting page. And some special programming. Playground is open again for their season for their summer camp and school trips. Like I mentioned, we have new art tours, but we also have new monthly tree tours in partnership with our arborists on the horticulture team, as well as our free general weekly tours. National Park Service will be open from Wednesday to Sunday, as well as all federal holidays. And then the Urban Farm will be opening this weekend. Some events to look forward to. May is already wrapping up. LMCC, Lower Manhattan Cultural Council, is putting on a performance, The Death of Rasputin. That's from April to June, occurring on Thursdays to Saturday. We're again working with New York City Public Schools for their Youth Climate Summit. What's really excited about this event is that it's mainly student-led, meaning they're coming up with the content, with the activities, and it's really a way for students to teach their teachers pretty much. And then we're partnering with Billion Oyster Project for their citywide student symposium. In June, we are bringing back SailGP, which was a really exciting event last year. For those who don't know, and I myself am not too familiar with this sport, but it's a large sailing international event. It brings professional sailors, I believe, from all over the world. They're competing in the harbor. This is a cross-collaborative event. We're working with NYPD, the Coast Guard, the mayor's office. It's a really exciting event. There will be some ticketed portions of the event itself, but since the island will still be open, there's so many opportunities for you to visually see the competition without having a ticket. Outside of SILGP, we'll have Jazz Age Lawn Party, Port Stop, Fad Market, and then the Great Nosh. This is a Jewish Food Society picnic that they have collaboration with restaurants all over the city. Random collabs that you probably wouldn't even expect to see, like Cat's Deli with Tatiana, which is a Nigerian-owned restaurant by Lincoln Center. So I'm really excited to see how this looks. In July, our typical runs, Poetry Festival, Fad Market again. And then excited to mention that we'll be working with an individual by the name of Trinez to bring on Sunday Sermon, which will be an open to the public kind of festival event. August again, run, Jazz Eggs Lawn Party, and Fad Market. And then just wanted to point out some new food vendors on Governor's Island. One is Threes Brewing will be working with Grand Army Bar to provide food to their location, which is really exciting. Pizza Yard has rebranded as Pizzeria Fantastica. And then Island Oyster will be open this season from Wednesday to Sunday, which is an additional day beyond what they did last year. And then again, as always, Taco Vista, Briggs, and then a bunch of other vendors that you can find on our website.
Is the spa restaurant open?
It is, but you have to go to the spa.
Oh, you
eat at the
do?
restaurant, yes.
That doesn't sound very smart.
Yeah,
All right.
I think that they're still exploring access points for the public, but as it is right now, it's because their restaurant is connected to the spa itself.
So that's why,
So
because
you
otherwise
can't-
you'd think.
Yeah, it's not a separate restaurant.
Just checking, thanks.
And then development updates. So we are introducing a new welcome center at Swanson's Landing. Previously, there was a wooden structure in the green lawn space. If you guys have been to the island in the past year or so, that structure was just on the island a bit longer than it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a temporary installation anyways. And so to really enhance our visibility and our access, we are welcoming a new welcome center within the welcome wall. It'll be a shipping container. This will be a central location for information. It'll offer free island tours. It'll be home to our merchandise sales, lawn games, and then we'll also have a rest play activation on the lawn. Our new boat is here. We're still completing training and we're working through some various approvals before it's online. But once it has arrived and is ready to go, we'll be working to commission a new public room on the ferry. And we'll have a welcoming event that we'd love to invite the community board to, but I just don't have any information on when that will be yet. And then some things I wanted to highlight on our tenant map. First, the Harbor School expansion, building 555, which is their existing building, has estimated completion for fall 2026. And then the new build, which would include the pool, they're estimating that to be completed in fall 2027. So it's looking about 2 years out. Building 140, which is the building immediately off our ferry landing where Taco Vista has their seasonal operations, has construction slating to start this summer. Due to that construction, Taco Vista has temporarily relocated to where Gitano used to be. As you all know, Gitano is now located at South Street Seaport. Building 301, which is Buttermilk Labs, a workforce development project, is slated to have construction also start this summer. Building 20, which is in Nolan Park and is the first building that we have done capital work on as part of the arts campus, is nearing completion. And we're hoping that we'd be inviting you all to a ribbon cutting and celebration soon. As a reminder, Billion Oyster Project and NYU Gallatin will be the tenants of that space. And then finally, the Climate Exchange has construction slated to begin in late 2026.
Can you give a little more information to the public on the climate exchange, where they are in the process?
Design development just completed, and that's about all I can share right now.
We'll make a note to come back to talk about that.
And that's it.
Great. Thank you for those updates. Very helpful, very informative. Any questions in the room? So I have a couple quick ones. You mentioned ferries will be running every 30 minutes.
They currently run every 30 minutes.
Will that be adjusted as we move into sort of the high season or no?
No,
So what was the thinking of that? Just, was it?
it's always been every 30 minutes.
Has it?
Mhm.
I thought it came more frequent than that. Okay, got it. You mentioned areas closing at dusk. Again, those were particular sites. Why closing at dusk versus the 10 or 11?
This is the southern island, so this is where the hills are.
Right.
It's just a bit more space for our security team to have to round
Got
more
it.
people up.
Okay,
And so the historic district, the northern island is right by the security office. It's just a bit easier to condense everyone there.
got it. Okay. No particular order. Sunday sermon, you spelled Sunday with an E. Was that intentional?
It is.
So Sunday as in ice cream?
Correct.
Okay.
It wasn't a typo. I like reread the
I
presentation
assumed
five
it, I
times.
assumed it wasn't. I don't think you mentioned ice cream when you referenced it.
No, I'm not sure what the play on the name is,
Okay.
but that's the way they chose to spell it.
Okay.
Well, it's ice cream.
Yeah.
Well, Sunday sermon, I didn't.
It is.
When I first typed it, when I was creating the
going
presentation,
up with it.
I wrote like Sunday the way that you would think the weekday was, and I
Right.
was like, that was corrected.
Got it.
That's Sunday.
Okay. And then you mentioned, so the wooden structure that's there currently, you're replacing with a shipping container, I think you mentioned.
The wooden structure is no longer there. It's been
Okay.
demolished.
And this is a facility people will move in and out of, correct?
No, and no one moved in and out of the previous facility
Oh,
either.
okay.
But it just wasn't visible. It was behind the metal welcome wall that exists now. When groups would meet in front of the wall, you really couldn't see the welcome center as it was, and it didn't have the best function for the staff that operated out of it. So we wanted to come up with a new concept that was highly visible for our visitors, bright and exciting, but also worked for the staff that would be with it.
So people will come up to it, but they don't enter it, got it?
Yes, and we've considered ADA accessibility, wanting to make sure that the window is of the perfect height so that if someone were to be in a mobilized chair, they'd be able to receive the same type of interaction as someone who would be standing.
I just have to confess, I don't remember ever hearing about this. Did we get, I'm sure there was a presentation. But was this because the original building wasn't, what was the reason again for the change?
It wasn't a building, so it was a
I know
temporary
exactly.
structure.
Yeah.
with, front.
Entry piece, right?
Yeah. It was always intended to be temporary. It went past its useful life and then required heavy maintenance from our internal teams. There were rats in the area. The wood started to break apart. It wasn't year-round use. You could only operate in the summer. This newly revamped welcome center would allow us to utilize this throughout the year, and we wouldn't have many of those maintenance.
And this is a literal shipping container?
Correct, but it's customized and it's beautiful.
No, I've seen these, so that's an interesting, but it has nothing to do with the island. It's just the shipping container, some designer who's providing this.
Correct.
Great.
Thank you.
Questions online?
The leagues from Lower Manhattan are big users of your ball fields?
They are. That in addition to a bunch of public schools recently have been using the fields for athletic days, field days, end of year celebrations. I'm really excited to say that we've gotten a lot of engagement from public schools this season to utilize primarily the parade grounds, which is right near the ferry landing.
Good, thank you.
Okay, if nothing else, thank you.
I have one question. It's Richard here. Hi,
Yes.
Connie. Thanks for this very much. I would like to post notices up in my building and other locations about events for people that are generally and sadly not that familiar with Governor's Island. And I wonder what you have that would make for good things to post up that would give families and other people, get them interested and get them over there.
Yeah, I have two things. The first is I have a trilingual flyer in English, Spanish, and then simplified Chinese that at a very high level speaks about all the things that we have on Governor's Island and then has our website. So if they want more information, they can find it that way. It also contains ferry information, the map, price, etc. I then also have a things to do guide, but it's only in English and I can always translate it if that were to be needed. And that's literally highlighting every activity that you could possibly do. It's about 3 pages, so I can send you a copy, and if you want to print it and put it in your building and it feels as though people are being responsive to it, then great. But if not, I can maybe add a QR code to the PDF file itself onto our flyer.
That'd be great. I know, appreciate all of that. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Just following up on that, you mentioned the engagement with schools, local schools. Do you have any consistent messaging to those schools about, like, beginning of the month, here are activities? It just seems an effective way to reach families.
Yeah, so I lead our community newsletter. It goes out bi-weekly, and then all of the DOE contacts that I have in addition to the schools are on that mailing list. But Richard, I'll share with Onadej the flyers so that way she can share it back with you.
Terrific. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else online? No, if not, thank you very much. Again, very informative. Thank you for everything.
You guys.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move over to our second topic, Titanic, New York, Beacon of Hope on Pier 16. It mentions presentation by Angelica Harris and Adrian Saker. Angelica is not able to join us tonight, but we do have Adrian in the room, so we're going to turn it over to him to walk us through what's going on.
Thank you very much, everyone. It's really a pleasure to present to the community. I've presented projects before and with success, and this is a truly exciting one. I hope you'll enjoy the education and a little more about this proposal. So, Titanic, New York, 2 words that really have to go together. Why they haven't done before, we don't know, but that's why we're here to show you today. So the vision is with the world's first descendant-founded Titanic experience. I hasten to add, I'm not a descendant. There are many people in our group that are. And I'll come to those in a moment. So what's the meaning of context of Titanic? No event in maritime history has produced a more powerful resonance in the national cultural memory than the Titanic disaster. The sinking of the unsinkable ship, the call for women children first, the band playing heroically. It's a timeless story about bravery and sacrifice, and one that only descendants can tell. And who are these descendants? Well, I'm really thrilled that this group has come together of notable descendants. Show of hands, who's seen the movie? Of course, everyone has, probably more than once. But it's really a timeless story. But we tend to forget there's real people behind, these characters we see in Cameron's movie. And starting at the top there is Ellen Benziger. She's our patron and chair. She's the great granddaughter of Margaret Unsinkable Brown, who was incredible, philanthropist. Dan Wells, that very character, indeed. And she was Lifeboat 6, a survivor. That's a photograph of her great-grandmother there on the right, handing the loving cup to Captain Rostron, who rescued on the Carpathia 706 passengers who came onto Pier 54, which sadly no longer exists, but this is all real New York history. On the top right, there is Simon Medhurst. His great-grandfather, Robert Hitchens, was the quartermaster of Titanic. He was at the wheel of Titanic when it hit the iceberg. He was later in Lifeboat 6. The bottom middle there is Angelica. She was going to join us this evening, but she's our educator. We have a wide breadth of talent amongst the group. She's the great niece of the Baraccio brothers, who sadly perished in the Our Carte restaurant. They were waiters, 17 and 19. and their bodies were never recovered. And that little flower there that the brother wears in his lapel was a signal to his mother whenever they took a photograph that they were happy and well. And then on the right there is Josiane herself. She's a trauma surgeon up at, I believe, Mount Sinai. Her great-grandmother survived. Sadly, her great-grandfather perished. In fact, an interesting note that the second largest national group that perished was actually Lebanese. And Titanic was going to dock in Beirut on its return journey. So there's a really interesting, international and multinational story behind this. And then last but not least, absolutely thrilled to have Princess Electra Marconi Giovanelli. She's the daughter of Guglielmo Marconi, founder of radio. And without his wireless system aboard Titanic, we still wouldn't know where Titanic was today. It would never have been found. No radio signal would have been sent out. We'd still be looking for the Titanic. So a really, remarkable collection, group of supporters, and only they can tell this Titanic story. And believe me, when Simon is in a room, if he was here tonight, he'd tell you my grandfather was at the wheel of Titanic when it hit the iceberg. People, it has meaning, Yeah. So, as I said, in real life, in Left Southampton, we know the story. Hit an iceberg. That may or may not have been the iceberg. There are many different stories behind it. It stopped off in Queenstown, which is in Southern Ireland. But there on the right there is the lifeboat, and at the back there is Robert Hitchens, Simon's great-grandfather, and in the middle there is Margaret Brown. And as I said, these are real people, real stories, and very much connected to New York. And who were these victims? Well, they were millionaires and they were regular people. There was John Jacob Astor. Astoria is named after him. The Waldorf Astoria. Quintessential New Yorkers. Benjamin Guggenheim in the middle there. And the couple. That's the famous couple, the Strauss couple who stayed on the ship. They wouldn't be parted and they perished together. The founder of Macy's, the two of them founded Macy's. And then, some not so famous people, but just truly remarkable stories. On the bottom left is his father, Joseph Biles, who refused the lifeboat twice and went down with the ship. And we understand there's a case for his beatification with the new pope. People are trying to make him a saint. Young children, there's whole families that perished. Mexican immigrants who are trying to start a new life from France and elsewhere. So a cross section of individuals who perished, and sadly, mainly men. We know that story well. So there used to be a lighthouse, an official lighthouse in Coentus Slip. It's on the 13th floor. It was unveiled exactly a year after the sinking of Titanic. Funds were put together by the Great and the Good in New York City, and funds were raised, and this light was unveiled. We happen to believe it's in fact America's tallest lighthouse. From the statistics that we've uncovered during our research, it was actually 220 feet above the high water line, and Cape Hatteras is 208 feet. So, it doesn't exist any longer, but we honestly believe it was actually America's tallest lighthouse. And as we know, demolished in 1969. It had a fixed green light, uniquely green light, that shone out towards the Barrows Island Narrows, and if Titanic, other ships had made through, in later years, this was the land that they'd been looking for, and obviously many of them did. So the questions I want to ask and answer tonight are why now, how, and how much. So why? Because there's a really strong New York connection. It's a story that hasn't been told, and it's an opportunity on our doorstep that really needs to be embraced. Why now? Well, this is why now. As we know, the piers are going to be redeveloped, and there's a really tremendous opportunity to incorporate some heritage and some cultural elements into essentially what is a breakwater to protect the waterfront there. As we know, I mean, I've seen many of you discuss this particular layout on the meetings here in past months, and I'll get to some of the slides that you've already presented. And within the EDC deck, there is actually a clause top right there that I think is really important and why this needs to be built, amongst other cultural elements that need to be included and considered in the waterfront, which currently have not yet been addressed. It's critical to acknowledge how the lower half of Manhattan has been shaped by both the suffering and contributions of enslaved Africans, indigenous peoples, and other oppressed peoples, including immigrants. This legacy reinforces the importance of centering equity and inclusion and planning the city's future. So within the document, which is the EDC document, there is a mandate for some cultural artifacts, some cultural element to the waterfront, and we hope to present that to you. So where is this going to live? Well, as we know, this is in flux. There are different versions of Pier 17, whether it's demolished, sorry, Pier 16, whether it's demolished, extended, moved south. You know, that isn't really what this presentation is about. It's about whether we believe that there's an opportunity to build something within this new superstructure, and then we'll move forward and decide which pier it's going to live on. We're frankly agnostic. Certainly it should be in the seaport because its legacy is here, its history is here, and its function is here. So what are we going to call this new stretch? We'd like to call it the Seaport Maritime Mile. So as the Mayor Office says, you know, it's a gateway and a destination. Let's draw this new blue highway onto the waterfront and expand the seaport all the way down the front. Why not? If I'm a tourist from Europe, I'm not going to know the difference. Let's just call the whole waterfront the seaport and open up bigger opportunities, more businesses, more cultural events. So what we're proposing is a new 12-floor modernist light tower within zoning structures, as we know, 120 feet, a Titanic educational experience, a beacon of hope welcoming visitors to our city, and the first new city lighthouse built in over 100 years. So why doesn't New York have one? Because Belfast, Southampton, Liverpool, Cork, and Halifax have all embraced Titanic and have experiences in their towns. American home port, and it wasn't back then. And its intended destination, as we know, has nothing. Why? So what might this look like? This is just purely a design concept. This is not architectural, but the vision that we have is both green, and functional, and historical. So I guess starting from the pier level, moving up, we have the ticketing. And the vision is that we would tell the story of Titanic chronologically as you ascended the tower. So we'd start with ticketing. On the second floor, you have the construction, which obviously is a STEM story. You have launch day, the maiden voyage of the crew, immigrants and millionaires, iceberg and sinking, victims and survivors, the wreck discovery, which is a VR experience, popular culture and oral history. And this is where our descendants would come and actually give talks about their grandparents, their forebears, and discuss, you know, with the public their views on the history of the ship. The 10th floor is lighthouse restoration and the donor roll. And then the Titanic on the left there is the stateroom suites. So perhaps there might be accommodation, a dining salon, an observation deck, and a fixed directed lamp at the top there. And then down below, excuse me. And down below, there's a 5 knot minimum current for e-turbines to run electric, and the river there is 7. So we like to embrace as much elite opportunity as we could, including a desalinator, and incorporate all of this kind of modern technology and environmental practices within the structure. So from the top, what are the objectives here? A panoramic seaport and Brooklyn Bridge views, galleries tell Titanic's immigrant story. We share descendant artifacts, lectures. Again, it would be the US Coast Guard Lighthouse for the port of the city of New York, incorporated within the resiliency plan, a family-friendly, immersive experience. What does it look like? Well, again, we're agnostic. I'll come to that on the next slide, but award-winning, let's call it destination architecture, like Calatrava's Oculus. People visit that because of what it is. An anchor for the new Seaport Maritime Mile and 365 revenue generating in the project. So what is the global vision here for a design brief? So we propose opening up the world's top 20 architectural design firms and allowing them to compete to create the design for a very simple brief, beacon of hope. This has been done with a Highline, some really premium companies, Zaha did, Skidmore and Zamira are all attempting to win the project prize there. We think a similar model is appropriate for Titanic New York. We think of lighthouses as kind of the candy cane striped, but they've moved on much from that. Now, these are just examples. We're not suggesting that these will look anything like it, but this is, to broaden a vision of what a lighthouse is. That Zaha did down in Dubai and other designs across the world. I'm going to only briefly land on this because I know that this is in flux. What happens to Pier 16? We're not sure what happens to Pier 16. So let's just say that this is a placeholder for whatever becomes of that structure. We know it's going to be rebuilt, and we'd like to be incorporated in that. We thought there's an opportunity to be a bookend for Calatrava's Oculus. If you follow Fulton Street all the way down there, it's in a direct line, and it seems that there's a space there that offers an opportunity for some really tremendous architecture and is a draw to bring people down to the waterfront and the seaport district. So here's some comparables. Titanic is a big international draw. Titanic Belfast was constructed on a derelict piece of land. Obviously, it has incredible history. It's where Titanic was built, but this was built from scratch. It's the world's largest Titanic experience. 800,000 visitors in 2023, turnovers in the millions, and you can see the profits there. Basically, people come to Belfast to go to this museum. So what are we going to put inside this thing? Well, more and more these days, people are looking for VR and immersive experiences. Here's an example of Van Gogh, 4.5 million sold. It's not so much about artifacts. I just want to underline that we're not a museum, we're an experience. So, it's not about personal objects, people's artifacts. It's about, the virtual experience when you're in this space. And these are some of the prices. I mean, many tickets sold for this experience. Montauk Lighthouse, people like climbing lighthouses. I climbed it myself. They have a somewhat modest revenue, but for the young generation, being able to climb a tower has a thrill. We still have a strong visitor count, 150,000 a year, and we applaud that. Some examples of Titanic Worldwide. That is one of our members, Susie on the top left row. She's actually the president of the Belfast Titanic Society at the Titanic Museum there in Southampton, Merseyside, down in Southampton. The Titanic, first half of Titanic, that's down in Branson in Missouri. And on the left there, you can see the interior of Titanic Belfast. We already have an audience. It's incredible, the spike that we've reached on our social page. 244,000 followers, 8 million monthly views, a 18% engagement. If anyone knows anything about social media, these stats are like enormous. On the bottom right there, you can see this is just last month's reach, 8.3 million views, 3.4 million engagements. Again, that's about 18%. All again, growth, zero paid promotion. If you look at those reels, this is on Facebook, there's 1.7 million, 1 million. Clearly there's an audience. We've already engaged it. We're going to direct it to Titanic. This is Twitter. 2 million views, thousands of followers. On the top right, the high number during the Time episode was a monthly reach of 54 million, 53 million. So a very keen audience that are committed and passionate about the story of what are looking for an opportunity to engage with it. Some social comments, yes, love to have it. In my humble opinion, yes, but we concur with that. We founded World Titanic Day on April 15th as our original hashtag. We're going to own that. That's kind of our future moving forward. And April 15th will be World Titanic Day. It's 4th. So where are we on the timeline? We know it's accelerating. It's unclear to us exactly where we might fit in on this, but we're looking for a result from this presentation as to be under consideration as part of the Waterfront resiliency project. A bright seaport future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was a lot.
No, but you got through it efficiently. Thank you for that.
Okay.
So let's,
12.
Jess.
Yes, thank you. I love the idea of connecting the Titanic more viscerally to New York. Obviously, you've chosen respectfully an obtrusive way to do it, but it is cool. So tell me about your the plan for how this would actually get constructed. Is there a vision that some of the money for the resiliency plan would be used for this, or is this privately funded as part of the plan?
So we have outreach to some quite well-known construction companies who are building large projects here in New York City, and we've been quoted at $2,000 a square foot, particularly because it's over water. So estimated $39 million. That doesn't include the restoration of the pier, which we understand is going to be ongoing, and EDC are going to be budgeting for that. This is purely the construction of the tower.
Which your group would fund?
Correct.
Okay. So forgive me if I missed this, but what exactly is the significance of the lighthouse again? Can you?
Well, historically, there has been a lighthouse here since 1913, and it was the original Titanic lighthouse. It was the beacon, it was the official light at the port of the city of New York. And we feel that there's some heritage there that we want to embrace, and we'd like to, with the descendants, support, create a new tower of light.
Would it be a functioning lighthouse?
Yeah, it would be a function, but it would be directed, and LED goes all the way down to Verrazano. Of course, there's GPS. It would be certainly part of it would be cosmetic, a glowing design, perhaps. I said the actual aesthetics of the tower, I really can't tell you. It's whatever the architect firms come up and propose, and then is presented to the community and the judges and the panel. So that's kind of a bit of a TBD at the moment, but it's not necessary to have a directed light, but it may function.
Okay.
As a welcoming light coming out of Arizona, with cruise ships seeing, going like,
Yeah.
welcome to our city as they have done for 10
Yeah.
decades.
Okay. Were there any other symbols that were considered? Because this is going to face a lot of opposition. It's a 12-story monstrosity. I mean, I think it's cool, but it's going to be, it's obtrusive. It's obtrusive. and you're gonna get a lot of opposition. Were there any other symbols that were considered? That
What do you
maybe,
mean by symbols?
well, because the lighthouse is a symbol that you're using,
Yeah.
right? It is, right, that you're choosing to use as
Yeah.
the,
Not under consideration. I mean, you know, lighthouses are landmarks.
mm,
And there's an opportunity to create something really special. Many other cities in the world have created stunning pieces of architecture on their waterfronts. And there's an opportunity here in the Seaport to do that.
a lot
But
of,
it's a modernist architecture. You know, yes, it's a leap.
Yeah.
But we're looking at, you know, a 20-year, 30-year, 50-year, what is the world gonna look like?
yeah, sure.
And what does the post-labor, economy look like? With more leisure, engagement, and sort of more physical things rather than virtual. I mean, we're fighting for tourism dollars here in New York City and competing with many other cities around the world, Shanghai and many other waterfront cities. And we feel that there's an opportunity to create something really special. I wouldn't say a monstrosity. I think we have to wait and see what, I did and whoever other companies choose to create.
That's fair, that's fair.
Allison.
Oh, sorry, just speak up a little bit because it's a little hard to hear online.
I just gonna ask what, and you may have answered, I can't remember if have you been here before? Has this been presented before? This is
No,
the
this is the
first
first
time?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, its relationship to the existing lighthouse that's being renovated as we speak, if I'm not mistaken, and I know we have folks here who can corroborate, maybe not. So, what is the thinking here? You have a lovely little lighthouse right here, a half a block away. What's your thinking about the relationship?
Well, that's
between-
a wonderful, it's going to be restored and we were instrumental in getting it restored. I'm sure some of us there know that we received a 45-0 vote. Friends of Titanic Lighthouse, and we're thrilled it's been restored. The descendants are looking forward to its unveiling. It's 3 blocks in the ocean. It will stay 3 blocks in the ocean. Has a wonderful, welcoming structure to the Seaport District. It is its own entity. This is nothing to do with that. This is about the story of Titanic.
But it is a Titanic memorial, that's what it's called, and
That's
it is
correct.
there, so
Yeah.
we're sort of, I'm just, sort of
Yeah,
I'm trying to better understand.
This isn't a memorial. This is a structural experience for Titanic, and I'm telling you a story.
And have you presented this to any city agents? I mean, are we the first stop here at the community board level, or have
We
you had
presented
any?
it to some politicians, yes, some local electeds.
Some local,
Elected message.
If
Like-
you speak
Who
towards
who are
the
interested.
out.
I don't know if I can, really, mention them right now.
We can guess.
I don't know, I don't realize that that's controversial, but okay, so,
So Levine and Kavanagh are very interested in the project, and they said, share it with the community board first.
for being,
In person, we've had in-person meetings with them.
and, well, I have several of them, but I should, I
I
just,
mean, I don't wanna, we then unresolved, and so that's really nothing to say apart from that.
and have any other, you mentioned a lot of very well-known architects, have these firms, agreed to do this not to agree to do the project, agreed to look at it at all? I mean, you haven't contacted.
No,
Okay, I'm
we
just
actually have
curious.
contacted Heather Wick and said, interesting, but not for us right now.
I was gonna bring up Heather Wick, because you
Yeah.
know, the demise of that, folly, if you will, that it is something to consider. Well, anyway, that's something to keep in mind as. we
Sure,
move
oh,
forward.
your safety would be paramount.
Well,
of course.
it's the whole idea of the object. Anyway, thank you. Lovely presentation.
We've just been asked to speak up because it's hard to hear
Oh.
apparently. So David,
In order to do so, please speak towards the out. Thank you.
Really.
Okay, I'll have to look into it, but I'm not familiar with the 7-knot current in that stretch of the river. I'm very familiar with that stretch of the river. Perhaps at the bottom it runs faster.
Uh-huh.
Does it?
That's considering what we read, but it's what we understand, yeah.
3.5 would be a lot. Excessive, fine, I'm there all the time. Maybe at the bottom it runs more. I do however question the virtue of putting completely modernist, low-story structure on the waterfront in the Seaport Historic District on Pier 16. I don't understand the necessity of that, but talk about the people, that's a very excellent point. Survivors were landed from the Carpathian on the west side, there's a plaque
Yeah.
on the river. Why would you put this here on Pier 15? Why?
Because historically there was a light tower there, and there's a wonderful opportunity in open space to include a Titanic story on the waterfront.
Is it within the historic district?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure if over the waterfront actually is within the historic district. Unfortunately, the 33 floor structure that's going to get built in the neighborhood, has sort of, thrown a spanner in the works of all things, in terms of zoning. So we believe that a modernist, architecturally worldwide applauded design would be something to sort of counter that, other than a 33-story tower block. So, that's the opportunity.
Yeah.
To kind of rebalance the neighborhood.
That's an optimistic way.
Sorry, guys, we have questions online
Okay.
as well, so let's try and keep this.
Just want very briefly, the structure at 250 Water Street, which I believe what you're referring to, plus the one at Gold. Technically, they're outside of the district, but it was also pointed out strenuously, they are not on the waterfront. This would be 12 stories, modernist, right smack at the end of the waterfront.
Sure, it's a statement. Certainly it's a statement.
It's not not a statement, I think everyone will.
Well, let's see, that's why we're here. Let's see what the community, has to vote.
Paul and then Richard.
I just wanted to clarify what I thought I heard you say. Did you estimate the cost of this lighthouse would be $39 million?
We have been quoted 2,000 a square foot, yes.
And you don't have any money raised for it, do you?
Any?
Money?
No, not yet, Paul.
Okay, those were my questions. Thank you.
Richard?
Yes. I think my question to you is, what exactly are you asking of us and of New York at this moment?
Yeah, that's a good question. To allow us to pursue all the questions that you've asked and try and resolve them, to go and find investors, to go and find interested architects, to go to revisit the electeds who expressed a great interest in creating a Titanic legacy structure on the waterfront here as part of the completely reshaped design of the waterfront. I mean, let's be honest, it's going to change an awful lot. Is it just going to be a waterfront bulwark, or do we want something with meaning and context to be included within it that has a real place in your City?
Yeah, okay, thank you for that answer. It's very much clearer.
Was that not clear?
I'm not sure.
To continue,
I'm not sure the sense that you're getting from the rest of the community board, but with all due respect, I have a great deal of difficulty putting this kind of real estate on the waterfront in commemoration of something that is so very distant from anything that is of great concern to me, which is the sinking of the Titanic in whatever that was, 1913 or 14, whatever that was. And this kind of structure to block access and the waterfront and transform it, which essentially strikes me as a theme park. This is a theme park that we would be approving on the waterfront that is celebrating the sinking of a ship, over 100 years ago. I don't really feel the enthusiasm, to be quite mild about it. With all due respect, sir, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, certainly, vision for the younger generation. I mean, I don't think this room is really the audience.
I beg your pardon?
Well, I think it's for children.
Oh, okay.
That generation is certainly looking fascinated by Titanic. The STEM, the science, the history, and I think there's probably an awful lot of interest in.
Hold on, want to get everyone in?
I'm still at square one. So in terms of why? Help me understand, why do we need this structure on Waterfront.
Like here, right?
Yeah,
Like
right
here.
there. I'm having a real hard time
Okay.
processing
Yeah,
that.
okay. Well, it certainly is going to take some vision to understand, why Titanic's connected to New York City and why there's an opportunity for us to draw tourism to the seaport, which desperately needs it. And tell that story of the immigrants and the residents of the city who perished.
And you're saying that we're, obviously you're saying we're not doing a good job now, and there's nothing there
There is.
that relates to the Titanic.
No.
We already have a lighthouse there.
Yes, we have
Yes,
a lighthouse and we
being
have a
restored.
plaque where
But
the
there's no,
boat actually came in.
there's no history of the lighthouse. There's no.
Okay,
there's
why not
no
work
plaque.
from there and?
There's
Let me make a recommendation. I think you're hearing the tenor here, and this is just sort of very brief group, I mean, a small group from the community board, but I suspect that you would probably hear more of the same. Having been on the board 10 years, I think I can say that with some confidence, but for many reasons. But I mean, there are things that are going on, and you're absolutely right, that there is a brave new world that's upon us in this area, and why not try to capture, captivate, change, modify a lot of the thinking? I'm not certain that I could advocate for this being the new way, but I do think you're onto something to say, well, where is the Seaport Museum in this, for example? Have you met with them? This is a museum that is right here, directly at this site practically, it's a beautiful museum that I'm sure would welcome an exhibition on this, who is well aware and supports the actual memorial that exists there. Where is the Seaport? Oh, is that a fact that there's a museum there that is functioning and on the site? Yes, that's a fact.
The
And then,
defendants would like the names of the victims, but not the, seems a little odd, but that's a separate story, yeah.
well, I don't know
So-
exactly what you're, I'm just trying to say that
That's
you
the
might
history.
want to, in working with this community and the city of New York, you might want to consider in your presentation and in your concept design, what is already there. So when we talk about on the west side, the actual gate, when we talk about here on the east side, the actual tower that's there, when we talk about a museum that's within feet, it's a history museum. When we talk about a sort of festival, sort of piazza, if you will, that's happening right to your north here with the Seaport Entertainment Group's Pier 17, all of these are things that already exist, and I'm not hearing any way you would be tying in, and I would recommend that as an approach if you were to go forward with this.
We're not looking at time because.
Well,
the
there you go.
Seaport
Okay.
Museum, well, hang on, let me finish. The Seaport Museum, I know you have a vested so, but the Seaport Museum is the history of New York City. This is the history of Titanic. The Seaport Museum does not address Titanic. It's completely two separate things. So, yeah, no, that's not, really what is necessary. This is a completely different story.
Thank you, Jess.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what's been said, but what I don't agree with is I do think you're onto something here. I mean, I would love to see some sort of immersive experience. I think it's a great idea. I think you're right that it would generate a ton of interest. It would go viral. I think it's really a good idea. But like Alice, I mean, I've been on the board for like 4 years. This is a scary thing to bring before the full community board here. I'm just telling you. And I'm generally someone who loves cool new modern ideas like this. And even I'm a little scared by this structure. So I'm just suggesting, because I want you to succeed in this, that because I think if you came to us with something that was more modest, more tied, more open to the public, frankly, I think there'd be a lot better reception. I think when you come with any sort of 12-story structure in a historic district, you're just going to reflexively turn some people off. And yeah, I mean, look at what happened with 250 Water Street, and that was housing. I mean, the opposition to that was significant.
Strenuously, but
Yeah,
certainly.
and I did. And I'm very in favor of it. And I want to see things built.
Museum tower is going to get built, I'm afraid.
Well, yeah, so I'm saying that I would love to see things
I'm not
built.
sure where the museum is anymore. Like, no one's really explained that to the community.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't have to go down that route. I'm just saying that this is gonna be difficult to get support for, and I want you to have support.
Thank you so much.
So,
Thank you.
Two things. One, I think the nature of the historic district and the activities in it is it immersive experiences aren't manufactured. That's why there are boats there. That's why the streets are there. That's why the buildings are there. And that is an immersive experience. It's not one that is created. It's one that is preserved and made enlivened. But my question to you, sir, is do you have a project manager?
No, we haven't done anything like that yet. I mean, it's a group of Titanic descendants, and you are our first stop. And should you invite us to come back and present again, those are all the things that we'd love to present to you. The money, the electeds who are in strong support of this, and we'd like to create a Titanic legacy on the waterfront and see it as value to the city, and the money, and the design, and the architecture firms. Happy to come back with all of those. We're just asking for the opportunity to continue the conversation.
I just had one other question, just because I think this is obviously your moment. We want to make sure everybody, these are all recorded so everyone can hear and know what you're thinking about. Could you just review, this is a private experience where you're paying $65 and $99 to have an immersive experience, and you compared it to the Van Gogh immersive. Is that what that?
It'd be a non-profit. In fact, already is a non-profit. 501(c)(3).
And you,
Like the sequence.
so this idea is that you come in here, to get in here, you pay $99 and you have an immersive,
We have.
He was just providing an
just an
example. of what it
example,
is.
but it's an immersive experience. Well, if
But can we,
you're-
sorry, I don't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt, but
well-
can we just be clear? This is not a formal plan that's being presented. This
Yeah.
is sort of
Why are we-
planting the seed, which actually I want to give kudos to the group for engaging in the community conversation. And I want to make sure we don't discourage that, right?
Mhm.
This is a concept. There were a number of times where the comment was made, we're kind of indifferent to design or what looks might be. So I appreciate that you're coming to engage the community board, but this is a concept, no project manager, we're asking questions about something that seems to be a project that they're ready to launch, and I didn't interpret it to be the case.
Oh.
So I just want to clarify, and I'm not saying these questions aren't appropriate, but it seems like our understanding of this is much farther down the path than where this group actually is.
Are you hoping for some sort of resolution here? No?
We're hoping for an invitation to come back with electeds who support this, and they already have told us that dependent on your vote, they would support this. To create a legacy, moving Titanic forward, the architectural firms who still are interested, but clearly we need approval from you. The financial, certainly, not even gonna outreach to these firms unless the community board at least says, okay, we're interested in this, let's pursue it. Who knows what it's gonna look like? I mean, you're all gonna be on the architectural board, the community.
Sure you
Sure, you get a vote. You get to decide what it looks like. I mean, it's your community. And we're fine with that. We're agnostic as to what it looks like. This is just, a concept and nothing more of what might go inside it. But there's an opportunity to create something really important and special for the next 100 years.
Just one, anyone else on the committee with a question? Francis, you have,
Is it appropriate to ask who the electeds are?
it was mentioned.
He mentioned it.
All
Mark
right,
Levine.
so we met Mark Levine,
Oh,
who
okay.
was very excited by the project.
Oh, I remember that.
We spoke with Officer Brian Kavanagh, the head of planning, also similarly very excited about the project. Speaks to the community, let us know what they say.
The head of the Department of City Planning, is that what you?
No.
The head of planning?
Kavanaugh's office,
Oh,
right?
So, great, no other questions? We'll close.
How did you come up with 12 stories?
Well, that used to be the zone in the Seaport District, but clearly it isn't anymore. 20 feet, right? Is the zone, or used to be the zone, and now, I don't know where the law stands on that anymore. But, yeah,
So you want to go to the maximum, whatever?
no, we're fine with 12 stories. The 250 Water Street, I don't know what height that's gonna be, but that is what it is.
So
It's in town.
I did have one question to wrap up. I'm sorry, Seaport Maritime Mile, is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Is the anticipation that would replace South Street, the South Street Seaport naming convention, or?
I could run alongside it for sure. I just think expanding the scope of the new blue highway that is, very much in conversation with the community and the council, UC wants to build it, and we're all in favor of it, to give it a new name that expands the waterfront. Who knows? We're not the only group that perhaps wants to create new elements within this $2 billion project. At the moment, you're going to get a new wavy waterfront bulwark, nothing else. Maybe some parks and some new walkways, but where's the story? Where's the African-American story of the enslaved individuals who built Wall Street, who built the wall on Wall Street? Where's that group's opportunity for them to create something on Wall Street? Where's the airplane, there used to be seaplanes banging on the end here? Where's that group? Right? We're losing our history. And yes, it's a step into the dark, but it's New York. It's Titanic. It was coming here. The Astors, they're all New Yorkers. It's an incredibly important story about bravery. And the simple question I would leave you all with is, if you're on Titanic, what would you have done?
Oh, I don't want to think about that.
Take a life. Take a life.
I don't think about that at all.
On that note, if no other comment, last one.
I want to go to another subject. If this is done.
Okay, so as it relates to this, again, thank you for engaging the community board. That is how we like to see the process work. As you have developments, please reach out to our office, Paul and myself, and if it's appropriate with the agenda we have, of course, we'll welcome you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So just before we wrap, David wants to address a different topic.
I was working in the Seaport Saturday night. We arrived at Pier 16 when it was being used basically as an emergency room because it was ground zero for emergencies. There were ambulances, medical crews, stretchers, people being put in the ambulances. And we had to work that and get our passengers off the boat, the pier quickly because it was quite. I want to confirm with my crewmates. My recollection is that at least at 9:30, there were still lights and booming coming from Pier 17, music blaring and noisemakers from Pier 15, which is, I think, not only disrespectful and inconsiderate, but indicative of the business model oblivious to its surroundings. If in fact I find out that is what was happening, I would like to propose a resolution. Tonight, I want to make sure that my folks.
Yeah.
Because we could not hear us from one side of the road.
Are you saying that it shouldn't be that loud generally, or?
Both should not be that loud generally, and in the midst of that tragedy, medical emergency, should shut down.
Did they know about it?
How could they miss it? They're on the waterfront. It's happening in front of them. They have tourists lined up watching it.
Yeah.
People were out there. That's why you see all that video. People were there to watch the departure.
I think we just need to get the facts, right?
Yes, let me get the
It
fact.
would seem logical they would have known of it, but maybe they just saw activity and they had no clue what was going on. I don't know. I can't speak for anybody, but
Well,
let's find the fact pattern and then come back.
15 ambulances with their flashers on here. You notice it.
I'm not disputing that. We shouldn't assume they had a full understanding of what was happening. And maybe it's just, as you point out, when there is an emergency, maybe there needs to be a better communication channel and an understanding to shut things down.
That's kind of my point, is that they didn't know.
Again, I'd be careful about saying they didn't have any regard. They just may not have been fully informed as to what was happening. I'm not defending anyone, David. Let's just,
Get the facts.
right, and then bring it back.
Certainly. Thank you.
That was a terrible thing, for all that you went through and did. Thank you. It's terrible. Totally sort of ties into this, but I do take issue with one thing, Andrew. I do think it's up to the chair whether or not we would entertain another presentation of this and the welcoming that you're giving. I think that given the tenor of the conversation, what should be said is, if you come back, there are changes that are based on what we did, or otherwise, I'm not quite sure I understand the hour of time that we just spent. In other words, not every not-for-profit who has an interest in a project in New York should have the liberty to come here once and twice, and we don't opine, and which is fine, but then to invite back without some sort of modification or recognition of what the committee was saying, it seems a little potentially problematic, and I just wanted to make that comment.
Fair point taken. And I think I've said this before, we repeatedly talk about how important it is for people to come before the community board. And at times, it feels like we just dump on them, and I'm not saying we did that tonight, but it feels like we discourage people from coming before the board because the experience can be pretty negative. And this is someone who has a thoughtful approach. They are seeking to engage the community board. I do think I left us an out when I said approach the office, and we'll consider it in conjunction with the agenda. But again, point taken.
And you just said you'd welcome back. And I just think that this could be, I don't know anything about this group. I don't know the relationships with our electeds. We know nothing except for what we heard tonight. And it was quite a long presentation. I just think, I don't know what the next iteration would be, but I would hope it would be respectful for what the full board would think about a project like this. And because we're not writing a resolution, which is fine, I'm not suggesting it, we will never know that until the next time. And I think given our limited time, and I'm not sure I agree entirely with not welcoming groups. I feel as if many groups do get say and are welcome, but do have an opportunity. And we can take this offline, but I'm curious.
I was expressing my
Yes.
particular opinion that I think at times we're not as welcoming as we could be, even if we don't like the idea,
Yeah.
right?
I agree.
So again, point taken.
Yeah.
We'll see where they are when they request to come back. We'll see their form of presentation, and all will be able to make a call.
I love the passion, fascinating, the passion for the project is
Yeah.
really, really incredible and wonderful. In that sense, it's.
Okay.
I think it's interesting, he mentioned that in passing, the view of the electeds, they said they would want to wait to see what we think.
I think
I
that's
think
their
the
way of saying.
electeds knew what we were.
Yeah. Doesn't take a genius to know how the reception would be for that. I mean,
Well, that's what I was trying to say, is I just hated for him to think that everyone was going to be applauding the effort. I didn't sense that.
He's a smart guy. He got the message very clear that he's gonna struggle with a 12-story tower. I don't know that they're gonna change their plan, but I don't think he got a warm and fuzzy tonight at all.
Yes, and I'm going to
Your
report
question,
that.
like,
When
why
I
the
give a
West Side?
report on that presentation, I am going to say that the committee was lukewarm at best.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it's just the tower itself. I think there's serious questions about the idea of something like this on the waterfront, on a pier, in the historic district for this purpose. I mean, Jess may feel differently, but I certainly did not see the value add to our community. There's so many other things to commemorate, celebrate, which he himself actually mentioned that I would rather see us put our efforts to.
All right, let's not reopen the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, but I did
Had
want
a
to give my
long one
opinion
already.
because, you're all speaking there, and just because I'm online, I can get a chance to say something.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem with it, and I'll leave it at this, is that it could decimate the Seaport Museum. I mean, it is not, I don't think it would help the Seaport Museum. And I would have loved to have heard more about how that could be integrated. It really is a critical institution for us. And in fact, it is, you could have a Titanic exhibition, given the memorial that exists, it's being restored, is 10 feet away. So that part I still don't understand. And it would concern me how that relationship would flesh itself out with the brave new world we're about to see.
Some think Mr. Sacker and museum get along very well.
I got that sense, yeah.
This man is. Oh,
I got
I
that
see.
sense.
Okay. There you go. All right.
Something like oil.
I rest my case.
Elaborate.
Okay.
Anyway,
Turn off the
thank
recording.
you, Andrew.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Have a good night.
Have a great Memorial Day.
Not everyone.
Night all.
Yes, we have a full board. Don't.
This Thursday?
All right.
Right after the